We're going to look at the for each method as well. The for each and map method they are similar methods because they are used to achieve the same thing, to loop through an array and perform an action or perform an action on the array element. Even though the map there is a bit of a difference, so we have a difference between the map and the for each, but we are going to look at all of those. So let's start with the for each method. So the for each method is a loop that loops through the elements of an array like this. So we have apple, banana, orange. So when we call the for each method on this array, it's going to loop through the elements and it will return each of these elements. So it will loop through each of these elements to start with apple, banana, orange, and in this case we are printing each of the elements on the screen. So in the function we have console.log fruits, right? So let's see this in action. So let's delete all this from the previous video and let's clear this as well. So we are going to call names.forEach, and when you are calling for each, you use a camel case, so the E here is going to be uppercase. So you need to take note of this. If you write it like this, it's not going to work. So it has to be uppercase, the E. So for each, and inside here we provide a function. Like I said earlier, wherever you need a function, you can actually define your own function somewhere and make use of it. You can define a function like this and use it, right? So, but we're not going to define our function. We haven't treated functions yet, so I'm not going to make it complex. So I just provide an arrow function here. For those that know what an arrow function is already, if you don't worry, we're going to treat functions and we're going to look at what an arrow function is. So for now, just note the syntax and use it to practice. So we have names.forEach, and inside this function we're going to pass a parameter. In this case we're going to use just one parameter, not two like we did for the sort method. So we're going to call this name because this is going to return, we're going to get each of these names in this function. So first we get John, we get Andrew, and so on. So first we want to print this on the screen. So we have console.log name like this. So let's run this, and you can see we have each of these elements, each of these names on the screen. We have John down to Blessing, right? So this is how the for each method works. So if you have an array and you need to iterate over the array, you need to get like all the elements of the array, then you can use the for each method to do that. So it can be to print out the elements or to use it for any operation. So there are different use cases. I won't be able to give an exhaustive list of what you can do with this, but it depends on what you are working on. You just need to understand how this works, and if you are working on a project that needs this method, then you'll be able to apply it and get your task done, right? So this is how this works. So first you call the name of the array, in this case names, and then dots for each, and then you provide this function here. So this function is going to receive the name, which is each of these elements, and then inside the function you can use the name to do whatever you want to do. I can even do something like this: hello, and this is concatenation, so I just want to greet each of these persons. So you can see hello John, hello Andrew, and so on and so forth. So you can use it to do anything you want to do. So this basically gives you access to each of these elements, and then you can use the element to do whatever you want to do with them. So secondly, let's look at the map method. So the map method also gives you access to each of these elements, so you can go ahead to print it on the screen just the way we did with for each. So let's just replace for each with map and see if we get the same result. Alright, so we can see that this gives us the same result, right? So like I mentioned before, the map and the for each functions similarly, but we have a little difference between the two. So the for each doesn't return a new array, but for the map method, aside giving you access to these elements, you can do whatever you want to do with the elements here, but it also gives you a new array. So I can have constant new array, right? So but to get the new array, there's something you need to do within this function, the body of this function, to get it. But let's go ahead to print the new array and see what we have first. So print new array like this. Let's clear this and print again, and you can see we have undefined up to the length of this array. That's because this was expecting us to return something, but we didn't return anything. So in place of each of these elements, we got undefined. So when you run, if you want to use the map method to create a new array, then you will have to return a value after performing whatever operation you want to perform on this guy, on the value or the element of the array you receive here. So you can go ahead and do this. Now let's say I want to convert each of these guys to uppercase, so I can do this name dot what's this function, I think to uppercase like this. Let's see if this works. Great. So okay, so we can see that in this case we'll be able to use the map method to convert this the elements of this array to uppercase. So I don't want to print them in this case that is provided here, where we have the first letter uppercase and the remaining lower cases. So I want everything to be in uppercase, so I deleted the print so that we don't get confused. So we just want to focus on converting this to uppercase. So we have this map method, and in this case we see that it returns a new array. It forms a new array based on the operation we do here. So we are taking each of these elements and then we are converting them to uppercase and we're returning it. So whatever you return here is going to be used to form a new array. Okay, so if I print this again, we have all the elements in uppercase. Right. So this is how these two methods work. So we have the for each and the map method. So they are all used to loop over an array, get the elements one after the other, and you can perform an operation over or on the element. Right. So in the case of map, aside performing an operation on the element, you can as well create a new array with whatever operation you perform with the element. So in this case, you can see that we are using the map we're using the map function or method to multiply these elements by 2. So each of these elements will be doubled. So doubled numbers. Then we say return number times 2. So each of these elements will be doubled when we print the output. So let's do that with our numbers here and see our results. So we change this to numbers, and this is going to be num, and the operation we want to do, so we're going to perform this operation times 2, and we want to return the result, and that is what will be used to form the new array. So let's run this and see. So we can see we have doubled each of these values. So for 100 we have 200, for 2 we have 2, for 1 we have 2, for 300 we have 600, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's how these methods work.